Okay guys, so previously in the other video we covered how to make a user schema, and we did a lot of things concerning the creating the schema and how you can export this the schema um, to other classes. Now, so in this video we're gonna continue from where we stopped. So you can see previously we created all of these, and you saw how we did this in the previous video. So if you haven't watched the previous video, you can go back and watch it. And so today in this video we're going to make use of this schema. So first of all, I'm going to create a class, a package, or should I say a directory. This directory is going to be called the API controller.js. So this directory is going to control the controller, the REST API, the route. You're going to put all the routes here. So let me change the name and put the JS, which is just a directory. So there is no need for .js. Okay. So inside this directory, I'm going to create a file. I'm going to call this file API controller. I'm going to call this file the API controller. So this API controller is going to handle all the routes that we're going to use to send, register, sign up the user. It's going to handle all the REST API routes. So you're going to see how to create REST API route in this video. So first of all, we're going to need the express to create the route. We still need the express. I'm going to import the express now. I'm going to say express is equal to require express. Okay. So the next thing is to create a route, and we're going to say the route is going to be created using this express. So to create the express, we're going to use the route. So first of all, before we do that, before we create the route, we're going to import the user schema. Remember, we have to import the user schema because we're going to register the user. So we also need to import the user here. We're going to import the user schema. So we're going to say user. If you go back to the schema, you're going to see down here, we actually exported the user. This exported came from here, and the schema, we had to pass it into the user, and then we exported the user. So to make use of this user in the API controller, we have to import it. So to import the user, we're going to say require here. The require is going to be equal to, we're going to go through the directory. So we're going to go through the user directory. So right now we have the user imported. So we can make use of this user schema now in this JavaScript file. So now the next thing to do is, I think we need to create the route. But first of all, let me write something up here. So we have imported the user, let me say schema. So remember in the previous video, if you haven't watched it, go back and watch it because that was where we created the schema. We created the schema in the previous video. So in this video, we're going to make use of this schema. We're going to create the route now. So to create the route, we have to call a constant. We're going to call it route. Okay, so this constant is going to be equal to express.route. So that's express.router here. So that is it. So now we just created a route. So we're going to use this route .get. Okay. So initially we're just going to get this REST API route. This is going to be our first route here. So we're going to say the request parameter and the respond parameter. So we're going to use this request and respond to get the request from the user, and we're going to respond to the user using this request here. So these parameters here. So initially we just have one route. This is going to be our first route. So All we just have to do to create just call the express.router. Then we now have the route here. So now when this route is triggered, all we have to do is send a response. So the response here is gonna be response.send, res.send. This is, for now we're gonna use this for the response. Later on in the video or in this tutorial, we're gonna send JSON. You're gonna see how we do that. This is REST API route. So we're gonna save our work. We just save the work. So now we have our route. This is the first route we are creating, the first REST API route, and this is how we're doing it. So this is where we're going to create all the endpoints. We're going to create all the REST API endpoints for the mobile app inside this API controller.js file. So for now, this is the first endpoint we have. It's just a slash. So to make use of this API controller, we're going back to our index.js file. So remember, we created all of these. Everything you see inside this index.js was done in my previous video in this tutorial. So go back and watch it if you have. So now we need the API controller here in this index.js. So we're going to import the API controller. We're going to go through the directory using the require. So we're going to go, first of all, we're going to go to the model directory. We're going to say models. Then we have to go into the API controller directory. Then we have now to go into the API controller.js, but there is no need for the .js here, so it's okay. So now we have imported the API controller here. Now with this API controller, we can actually trigger the route inside the controller. So we can trigger each route here inside the controller. So first of all, I'm going to show you that how we're going to trigger this route. To trigger the route, we have to, first of all, remember, we just imported the API controller. I'm going to create a function now. This function is going to contain the middleware. This function is going to be where we listen for triggers of the route. We're going to listen for it here. We're going to make use of the middleware here. So we're creating a middleware function here. I'm going to call it an asynchronous function. So I'm going to say asynchronous here. So what we're going to do here is we're going to say the REST API app. But let me copy the whole of this. I don't want it up here. I want it under the init var function. I want it under here. Okay. I feel it's better here. So now inside this middleware function, we're gonna say the REST API app. We created this REST API app in the previous video. So we're gonna say the REST API app.use. So in here we're gonna pass the first route, and then we're gonna call on the API controller that we imported. So we see API controller here. Okay, so now this is how we make use of the route inside the API controller. So now, if the route is triggered, the API controller is gonna listen to it using this middleware function. To the middleware, we're gonna say REST API.use, and we're gonna trigger that route. So if the REST API route is triggered, it's gonna send a response to the user. So the REST API app.use is going to trigger the route. And if the route is triggered, the API controller is going to go there, look for that route, and then send the response to the user. So that is it. This is the API controller here. Remember, we imported it by using the require keyword here. Inside the API controller, we have only one route, which is this slash. It sends a response to the user. So this is my API route. This is what happens. So I'm going to say this is my first API route here for this project here. So That is what this REST API controller, when imported, you can now access the route with it. So now we're using this middleware function to actually set up the route. So if this route is triggered, it's gonna go into the API controller, it's gonna look for that route, and it's gonna send the response to the user. So I think we should try this so that you see how it works now. So we're gonna use a browser to test our route. So later on in the video, we're gonna use Postman, but for now we're gonna use a browser. So let's save all our work. I'm gonna save all, and then if you go to the new terminal, and say the npm start here, we're gonna trigger the app. We're gonna trigger the project or the app, So NodeMon is gonna run. Okay. There's something I actually forgot in here. I did not call this middleware. I did not trigger the function middleware. So to trigger the function middleware, let me close this. We have to go down. I'm going to trigger it inside here. I'm going to trigger it after we listen to the port. We did this in the previous video. So if you don't know how we created the port and how we listened to the port, go back and watch the other video. So for now, I'm going to trigger this middleware function inside here. So after the middleware function is triggered, then we're going to connect to the MongoDB. So it won't work. So make sure you trigger your function, because if you don't call your function, if you don't trigger it, it's not going to work. It's not going to execute. So we're going to execute the function here. So right now, I think it's going to work because we just triggered it. So we have the function triggered now. So I think we should save it and then we try it out again. So we now connect to the MongoDB after we set up the middleware. So let's go back to the terminal. Let's go to new terminal. We're gonna say the npm start to trigger the app. So I'm gonna say npm start. Okay. Don't worry, if there is any error, we're gonna sort that out. We're gonna sort it out here. So right now you can see the REST API port connected to port 9000. And then now it's setting up the middleware, then it connects to the MongoDB. So you see MongoDB have been connected. So we can go to the browser, and then we're going to use a local host. And what port? We are using a port 9000 here. So I'm going to say localhost 9000. And I'm seeing you cannot get the route / you see it cannot get that route, so there is something wrong. You see the console here is telling us a router that you use requires a middleware function. It's telling us that there is an error because we did not export. You have to export your router. So exporting it means that you can use it in any other file, but because we did not export it, it's showing that error. So we have to export. We're going to say the export, the module.export is equal to route. So this way we can use our route in any class. Now we've exported it, we can make use of this route now in any other JavaScript file. So that was what was missing. Make sure you export your route in order to use it in any other file now. So we're going to run call it the terminal again. We're going to go through it. You're going to see it's going to work right now. So what we're going to do here is we're going to go to the new terminal, and we're going to type the npm start. So doing this now, we can now see it's going to work. We're going to go to the browser, and you're going to see it work. So, okay, so MongoDB have been connected. So now going back, we're going to say, you see, it's showing us this is the REST API route. This is first REST API route. So see, it's working perfectly. So now we can go back to the API controller. You can say, okay, we can change the response. So we're going to change the response now and be like, I am happy it worked. We're going to say like yippee. So yippee. Okay. So I'm going to restart. Make sure you save your work again, and we're going to restart it. So when you restart it, you're going to see that it will show this is my first REST API route. I am happy it worked. Yippee. See, everything comes out. So now we're still gonna go create other route. The other route we're gonna add here. So we're gonna do that. Okay, so now we are gonna create another route. So this route we're gonna do is for the login. So we're gonna say the route dot get, right? HTTP. So we're gonna say the route dot get, and this time we're gonna put the login route here. I'm gonna put the API /auth/login. Yeah, API /auth/login. So now this is the login route. So we're gonna set the request and the response. We're gonna have the request and the response parameter here to listen to the user request and to send the user the response here. So yes, so now it's gonna be an arrow function. Yeah, so okay. So in here, we're gonna say, and let me change this to request and change this here to respond. So here we're gonna say the response is gonna be, we're gonna send the response now to the user. The response we're sending is, this is a login route. Okay. So we're gonna have another route for sign up. So we're gonna have another route for sign up. So now we're gonna say down here, route dot get. I'm gonna say it's gonna be a sign up route. So we're gonna say API auth sign up. So this is a route for sign up. You're gonna send a request and a response parameter. It's gonna be an arrow function. So we're gonna say the response is going to be, you're gonna send a response, and the response will be, this is a sign up route. Okay. So now we have 1, 2, 3 routes here. Now this is a login REST API. Let the response be, this is a login REST API route. And this is a sign up REST API route. Okay. So going back to my index.js inside the middleware function here, we're gonna more like register this route, So we're gonna say the REST API route dot use. We're gonna call the route here auth dot login. It's REST API, so it's API /auth. Okay. So this is the route here. Then when this route is triggered, the API controller is gonna go look for that route and execute it. So that is it. I'm gonna save the work. So we also have to register the other routes now, the sign up route. Okay, so now we need to also follow up, and let me expand this again. So now we also need to, now we have two routes here. We have the login route, we have the initial slash route. To take note of this, make sure you in the login route, make sure you put the slash. Okay, let me get this out for now. Let me get the slash out. I don't think it will still work without the slash. Okay, let me just save it. So we go to the terminal, and I go to the new terminal, and I now say the npm start. So you would see now we're gonna go to the login route, and it's gonna give us the response. So if I go to the login and I Okay, it's telling me cannot get this route. Okay, so that means remember to put your slash in front of the API, because currently there is no slash there. So remember to put a slash here. I think that's right now. Remember to do that. So you have a slash in front of it. So another thing is that let's go back again and now run it. It's giving me a wrong response. Now it's giving me the response for the first route. It's giving me the response for this first route. This is the response for it. It's giving me the wrong response. Normally I want the response for the login, but it's giving me the response for the slash. I want the response for this route. So remember to put a slash in front. Remember to put a slash in front of your API so that you get the right response. So in here I'm going to put a slash now. I'm going to put a slash in front of your route so that you get the right response. So, and then you save your work. So now I'm going in here inside the middleware. I'm going to be like, write the RestApi app.use. So in here I'm going to put the sign up route. So you're going to see API auth, then you're going to say sign up. Then we're going to pass in here the API controller. So we're going to pass in here the API controller. Okay, so now when each of these routes, we have 3 routes now. When each of these routes being triggered, the API controller is going to go and get the response. So you see now we're going to have the first route, we have the second route, and we have the third route. So now I'm going to show you, we're going to get the response now. For the first route, which is login, you're going to say this is the login. It's actually working. Then for the second route, let's change this login to sign up to tell you this is the sign up route, the sign up REST API route. So it's working here. And then if I get rid of all of this, it's gonna show us this is my first REST API route. So you see everything works well. Remember to make sure your route are set up correctly. Check it and make sure you understand. Okay, so we're gonna add another route. We're gonna add like 2 more routes for the files, because we're gonna upload file, so we're gonna retrieve file. You understand? So there's gonna be a route to retrieve file, a REST API route or a REST API that retrieves all the files. So for that we're gonna use this route here, and we're gonna write here a request and a response. So we're gonna get the request from the user, and we're gonna send a response to the user. So I'm gonna say the response here will be, if this route is triggered, I'm just write here, I'm just write some comment on top of it. So we're gonna say retrieve all files. I'm gonna say sign up user. I'm gonna say login user. So this currently just 1, 2, 3, 4 route here. So in the retrieve all files, we are going to send a response. So the response here is I will retrieve, or let's just use, no, I don't think I should use this. Let's just be REST API all files. So I'm gonna write in here REST API retrieve all files. Okay. So I'm gonna have another endpoint, you call it. I'm gonna have another endpoint. This endpoint is gonna retrieve a single file. So we're gonna retrieve a single file with this endpoint. So we don't need to retrieve all the files. Sometimes you might want to retrieve one file so you can get the file through this endpoint. So I'm gonna say a slash struct API struct files. Then we're gonna say the file name. We're gonna pass into this URL. We're gonna pass a parameter called the file name. So when you pass in the file name, it's gonna retrieve the file. So we're gonna say the request and response here. So the response here will be retrieve RestApi single file. For now, so later on in the video, we're gonna do this with Postman. We're gonna upload a real file and then later on connect to the mobile app. For now, we're gonna just test all of it on the browser. We're gonna test all of it on the browser. So RestApi retrieve all files. Oh, sorry, retrieve specific files. Okay, so remember to save your work each time you make changes to it. Save it, and we're now gonna test it on the browser. So I'm gonna save my work. I'm saving it. So now we have all our routes that we're gonna use. So we're gonna go new terminal, and in the new terminal we're gonna start. So we're gonna say the npm start to trigger the app. So with this now we can test all the endpoints we just made. So I'm gonna go to the browser now to test all the endpoints. Okay. So we're gonna start from the first endpoint, which is the localhost 9000 / We're gonna see this is my first API route. It actually shows here this is my first API route. Then I'm gonna have a login. We're gonna go to the login route. You're gonna say this is login route. Then we're gonna go to the sign up route. So we're gonna say this is sign up route. Also, we're gonna go to the files. We're gonna retrieve all the files. So it's gonna say API struct files. Retrieve RestApi retrieve all files. So that is it. So you see all the RestApi endpoints are working perfectly. So we have them here. So in the next video, we're gonna start writing the code to make this API work with the MongoDB. We're gonna use Postman to test the response, the JSON response. We're gonna set up a status code. We're gonna do everything. And for the login, we're going to use a JWT. No, not really JWT. We're going to use a bcrypt to actually encrypt the password to make sure the password is secured in the coming video. So there's a lot to learn in this tutorial. So if you haven't subscribed to the channel, make sure you subscribe to stay tuned and to be notified when new videos are up. And if you haven't watched the previous video, please go back and watch it to understand all that we've been doing. So see you guys in the next video. Thank you.